My name is Bill Deiss. I'm the Executive Director of the Anglican Relief and Development Fund. And that fund is basically an international distribution of contributions that are gathered in the United States and Canada and Australia to needy Anglican people throughout the world, throughout the developing world. So we're basically a conduit with funds and control information and management information from the United States, Canada, and Australia to the developing world through the Anglican Church. And none of the projects that we work on originate with us. They all originate in the foreign diocese, foreign church, foreign province. And they come to us for evaluation. We do our evaluation with them. Some of them look like they will be viable, and then we put those to a vote with our U.S. board and our global primates. They have a council meeting once a year and they vote the approval of these projects. Then we go into looking for the donors to be funding the project. But our taglines are powerful partnerships transforming our world. You know, we spent some time thinking about this, and we're so small. We're just about 4 or 5 people on staff. We have no implementers that go to the locations. We implement through the church. So we can't do anything without a partnership. And really, we're in partnership with God. That's the most important thing. That these projects are to lead people through the church to a more authentic relationship with Christ. That they become more joyful and more economically viable, but more of a Christ follower. So powerful partnerships begins above us because we're serving the same Lord. And we have to go through other NGOs, other organizations, and other church organizations, but always Anglican. And we transform the world. Well, God's really transforming the heart, which transforms the world. And we thought about this before we made these our taglines. But for those of us who work in this organization, they have real meaning. They drive us. And it begins all with relationships with people throughout the worldwide Anglican communion. These people here on the top, these are our worldwide Anglican communion primates. There are global trustees. These are the people that approve the projects, but they also approve them when they're initiated. And then when they go through filtering systems and budgeting, they are then approved by them at our council meeting. This is the last council meeting we had was in Fresno, Texas, and Plano, Texas on June 20th. We also serve the national churches, but in foreign countries, and U.S. churches. Of course, U.S. churches, we try to link as much as we can to the developing church through mission trips. But it's these relationships that do it. Basically, we're all about trying to illuminate Christ through these development and relief projects. And so today I'm just going to speak about one particular person that met Christ through a ARDF project. He was a child soldier. He was a young person. Evidently, I don't know whether he was captured to be a soldier or whether he volunteered to be a soldier. But he was in the Democratic Republic of Congo in the town of Aru. But anyhow, he left the town of Aru to serve in a rebel army. When these young men left, it's hard to live in the eastern part of Democratic Republic of Congo as it is. And this picture just shows you that the women that were left, the men had gone to fight. It's not an easy life. And so the hostilities end. They came back. Actually, they were idle before they left. And when they came back, they've had some really traumatic experiences. And they've been traumatized. They're idle when they come back. And The government doesn't have the resources to really help them in any way. They just are then dumped back into town. And as the bishop once said, they were troublemakers when they were here. They're now even more troublemakers. And what can we do to say, how can we show them how God really loves them? How can we do something in their lives that will enable them to know Christ, to know that someone loves them? But the church then takes the responsibility. And the diocese, along with several partners, built a carpentry shop. Actually, it was a school and a shop, but it was set up to be a training facility for carpentry. And here we are with the bishop. This bishop's name is Andy, and he's the Anglican diocesan bishop in the Diocese of Aru, which is right across the border from Arua in Uganda. Now they expanded it, and these are power tools that they invested in, and they also invested in a diesel generator to power this. But it was an initial grant of $57,000, and enables the school to double in size. And the school is making furniture, and it sells the furniture. And it's in a growing area, and of course people buy the furniture. And this supplies the funds to operate the school, pay for the electricity, the operating expenses of the school. And their first students were some of these child soldiers. And this is just one example of how ARDF uses powerful partnerships with churches on the ground to transform lives. I guess they could have done this without ARDF. They just couldn't have done it in the same time frame. It would have taken them much longer. And so we just give them a little sort of like hands up. And I would say a quarter of the funds came from the diocese itself. So they had some resources in this school besides ourselves. I want to quote David Glade. He's a friend of mine. He lives up in Northern Virginia. He's director of Christ the King Church in Arlington. He goes over to Kenya regularly to train evangelists. And he has this in the past apostle. He says it's easy for us to let the fire of evangelism at home fade. That means here in the States. But we need a good global partnership to help us develop a global vision and a good global partnerships that inspire us to remain faithful here. And he finds that going there helps him and his parishioners here develop a more holistic view of evangelism and the need for evangelism. Now you see evangelism going through into a community of lost souls through the training and becoming a carpenter. So if you wish your church to be globally minded and you want your congregation to come alive in service here, think about investing in becoming familiar with a project there. You know, the statistics that have been gathered on short-term mission trips prove the point, I think. Out of 10 people that will go on a short-term mission trip overseas, of those 10, 4 of them when they come, let's say all 10 get back, that's a good idea. But 4 of those people are going to say never again. I mean, it was just too far. I couldn't get adjusted to the time zones. The cockroaches are way too much. I love the church. I will sing in the choir. I will do the flowers every Sunday morning. But I just that's not my thing. But 6 out of those 10 people say, wow, something happened to me. I think I see God in a different light. Usually they see it working in a much poorer context, and the people are happy. And you can smile and you eat, and the hospitality is unbelievable. And they'll say, why? And then the people are so happy you're there. That's what's strange. And because I'm not really doing anything here, I might help in a small way. But those 6 people have had another step in their spiritual formation, which allows them to walk a little bit closer to Christ. Something happened that made them a little more mature, a little more serious about their own faith. Usually, out of those 6, 3 of them are going to say, oh, it's great, but I don't want to spend $1,500 to go to Kenya. It's on the airfare and the hotel. I'll serve the poor. I know now there's the poor. I'll serve them here. And so you're starting to light up your church a little bit more in these lives of the people that will serve the poor in your hometown or in your church location, in your own community. There's 3 of those 6 that says, wow, I'm going back. I found some friends. I thought it was a kick. I loved it. I didn't mind it. I felt more alive there and more energized there in the spirit than here. Well, this is what ARD is all about. We're that conduit, we're that pipeline that helps ACNA connect with foreign projects. We do schools mostly. We're into education a lot because we're trying to convert kids to the love of Christ there through the Anglican Church. Medical things we do, because medical service, and particularly in rural areas, is not good. And so we invest in capacity there. Build medical clinics enables doctors and nurses to be available for that community. It's all sort of there. And we do community centers. And community centers help a church overseas, because usually it's the only building where not only they can bring people in for coursework and attract the youth, but also the adults like to come to a community center. And other organizations like to rent them. So it's sort of an income-producing investment that we can enable them to have, which they don't have the funds themselves to have. So we do primary schools, day schools, high schools. We have a new high school project with one of our partners in Kenya. And in one case, we're even going to do a bakery. And that idea came from them. And because they have a person that will help them set up this bakery that is an experienced business person that has his own bakeries, and it's not in his area, so we'll be sort of like a franchisee, and he will help us sell bread. The profits will be going back into the community through that serve the poorest of the poor, and it takes the pressure off of us to raise money to go there in the first place. So we're interested in those kind of projects. But talk with us if you have a desire to learn how to invigorate your church into more service to the poor at home and more service to the poor overseas, and walk closer with Christ. Well, back to carpentry and this soldier. And that's where the generator is, in the back of this small carpentry school. And in the past 4 years, they've trained 160 carpenters. They're near a larger town, so the carpenters sort of disappear into the community, and they all set up their own little shops. And like I say, they make tables, chairs, cabinets for clothing. The hospitals are growing, and and schools are going up. We help build the schools, and the furniture for that comes from these students who are now in business in the larger community. And so we asked, this is the child soldier here on the right. I couldn't believe it. This guy is so mild-mannered that I said, you held a gun, shot people? You know, I didn't say that to him, but I'm thinking it to myself. But he was a shy person. I didn't even know how old he was at this point in time. But now, if I can just show you, here, I think I can do it. Yeah,
How has this made your life better?
He's spiritually, he can be okay. That's the thing. Because being here is under the church, and then all the behaviors that he used to have before will be changed spiritually. He was baptized in Seka 20.
He came to meet Christ. So it's all about relationships. And the powerful relationship is the relationship with Christ. And that's why we do this. And we love you to be part of this partnership. And so it's that simple. And we have a lot of fun doing it. And we meet a lot of wonderful people. And my 10 years of being associated with this organization, I've seen lots of people change their behaviors and walk a little more firmly with our Lord. And I've seen a lot of happier kids in school, and well, it just brings a lot of joy all the way around, which is what our God is all about anyhow. Thank you for your time and your attention, and I'm open for questions. And hey, 16 minutes, not bad.
A quick comment.
Yes.
First of all, you said it's that simple, but that's the gospel's that simple.
Yes.
And so it's almost refreshing to have something that simple. And then one of the things that we've experienced through our church is working with ARDF is the fact that it's the locals there on the ground that they're involved.
Yes.
And we're not going out to eat for them, which is, that's the legend.
Yeah, we don't have any overhead of employing staff to go over there to put the projects in. They put the projects in. We get reports back, and we don't give them all the money at once. You know, we do have interim reports and then the second tranche or the third tranche to fund, but we do it on a responsible basis. It's about as responsible a philanthropy organization as you can get. Yes, sir.
You mentioned short-term mission.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
Well,
How does one become involved with a short-term
well, you
mission?
just let us know where we're planning to go. We've had 3 so far. We used to not have them. But we piggyback on other churches that have short-term missions, so we don't invent them all. But we invented 2 to Nepal, and we're going to go back to Nepal again because a lot of people in Northern Virginia, where I live, and go to the Falls Church, love Nepal. And the Anglican Church is exploding there, and there's lots of work to do. And so Nepal, if you want to go to Nepal, speak to us. We're going to go in early 2020.
I guess to
Yeah.
expand that question just a little bit,
Yeah.
is that how does a guy from Tennessee learn about the opportunities? Gal from Tennessee. How do we? Is that something that you're actively?
We will go to Brazil next year. We'll go to Recife because we have projects in Recife. We're going to go to in Nepal and what's
Kenya.
And Kenya. Kenya. We're going to Kenya in February. Yeah. So we know those 3 are going to
That's
happen.
what I'm asking is, do you actively solicit people to
Yes.
go on these trips?
We do, but we're not good at it. Okay, so website, that's sort of our home. If you go to our website, everything we try to do is on our website. And the reports of our projects are on the website, and the ones that were current, and the blog, how they're going. And then the assessment. We have budgets before, interim reports, and at the end of the project, we have an impact assessment, which is basically, in a business term, an audit to find out whether the money went in the way it went, and the people that were to be impacted were in fact impacted. And we have projects that achieve what we said they were going to do, overachieve what they were going to do, and underachieve what they're going to do, just like the real world. Yeah. So, we will get in touch with you. If you come by our booth and sign up, you will be on a special list on vision trips. But they'll be advertised beforehand, before we go on the trip, on our website.
I have to be able to build a medical clinic with my own hands.
Hey, you may want to stay longer than 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, but what we try to do in these trips is an exposure trip. It's a heart trip. It's not paint the building trip. It's to impact your heart.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Or? Wow. What a great group. Even the speaker doesn't have to work that hard.
Must be a good presentation.
I don't know. But I'm serious about becoming involved, because it not only energizes people that really have very little choice and resources overseas, but there's a quid pro quo on this, because you're dealing with a very powerful God. Because people's hearts change, then your church is going to change.